All right. Let's start by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is A Blast from the Past, George Gordon, my commentary. And I just wanted to land back off of a video that Elder Apostle Gabar did. I was watching, I'm a little more than halfway, listening to it where he's going into George Gordon and he was going into the Illuminati. And as I was listening to the video, I started thinking about the old school, when we did listen to him. And pretty much, I remember one day, when we were at the school in Connecticut, we had the office, and Apostle Gabar and myself were in the office next door, and he had me call the number that George Gordon provided. And I actually spoke to George Gordon on the phone. And I asked for George Gordon. He said it was him, and I introduced myself, and I told him, Apostle Gabar told me to tell him that we're avid listeners of the George Gordon show. So I actually spoke to him on the phone, and that's back when you would call the number that he would provide. He would send you a package. I believe the package had something to do with the law, some type of law thing that he had put together that if you would call him, he would mail it out to you. So we had him mail it out to us, and as Elder Apostle Gabar said, he was very, very good with the information as far as conspiracies and the law and things of that nature were concerned. But when it came down to trying to break the scriptures down, he couldn't break the scriptures down properly because he wasn't a prophet, although he called himself Prophet Georgie. He said even Prophet Georgie could eat a little poison here and there. And that's what he said in one of his podcasts. Now I had recently did it's heavy, it's a spirit, because I had recently did a little podcast, not podcast. I had recently did a lesson where I actually highlighted one of his speakings where he went into the groupies. I've also gone into, which I've learned from Elder Apostle Gabar, and I also, not too long before that, did something on the pigs of the Oikophernoikios, however the lesson was, or his lesson entitled. And pretty much the groupies were those individuals that want to meet up in different places, to so everybody can come together under one mind. And a lot of times those meeting grounds are pretty much breeding grounds to either set people up or to get the information that they need, or pictures, or whatever the case may be, of all of the individuals that are against the system, or whatever the case may be. I brought up the instance that he brought up in in Cuba, the Bay of Pigs. I also brought up an incident that happened with the chieftain woman Anacaona, which she pretty much hated the Spaniards, but she did her people a disservice. And Ephraim was going off back then by setting women up, but her husband had died, and she came into that stead. And pretty much what she did was she was trying to set the Spaniards up, but the Spaniards set them up because she had brought all of the chieftains, or the caciques, together in one spot, and they pretty much grabbed them up, put them in this hut, and burned them all and killed them. So that's what the groupies things is all about. Now the pigs of the Oikophernoiki is, a trapper that would go into these woods, and these pigs would kill any hunter that would go in there when they try to hunt these pigs. But the difference was that this hunter was a cunning hunter, and he would bring feed, and he would feed the hogs. So the older ones, the younger ones would come, and he would start building a fence around them. And after a while, they got used to him bringing the food. So the ones that would go out and actually hunt for their food, eventually what would happen is they would stop hunting for their food because they knew they had food coming. So as he kept feeding them, he kept putting a fence around them, and he gained their trust. So eventually he built the gate all the way around. There was one way in, one way out. He left the gate off, then he finally put the gate on, closed one gate, left the other gate in. They were still going in and out, eating, feeding. And then one day he eventually locked it in, and none of the pigs could get out. So he got all of the pigs, and he was able to sell them as to where nobody else was able to do that. So pretty much what that was akin to was Jake out here, depending on the government, on the system to give him everything, and the scriptures speak about that. The serpent or the dragon would feed them for a times and a half a times, and they become dependent on them, and eventually you will fall into their trap, and that's what we're seeing right now with the MOTB system. Now the scriptures say that the time is going to come where Jake is no longer, the elect are no longer going to stay upon him that smote them, but they're going to stay upon the Lord in truth. So there's going to be certain ones that escape because they will be able to see, because the Lord will give them the eyesight to see. So the point of that one was, don't be dependent on these devils. We have to be dependent on Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, because Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is who's going to provide for us, especially in these times of hardships that are coming, which is a time of Jacob's trouble. Which some older Jake did something about misunderstanding Jacob's trouble or something like that, which I didn't get a chance to watch. So Lord's will I can watch it and do do a video on it. I sent it to a couple of brothers, so they could look at it. I didn't get a chance to see it. I saw the thumbnail, I read the title, and I said, I know he's going off, but I didn't get a chance to watch it. So Lord's will I watch it. So the moral of the story is pretty much, don't be dependent on Esau, because Esau is the enemy. Their words are smoother than butter, but war was in their hearts. And when the Apostle Gabar was doing that lesson, it brought to mind, the time when he actually had me call George Gordon. I actually spoke to him on the phone, and then that thought led to other thoughts as we're doing the lesson to speak about the groupies, to speak about the pigs of the Oiki Fenoiki, and so on and so forth. So he does have a lot of good information, but then again he also goes off when it comes to the scriptures. So I just wanted to give my little commentary on that, because the times are going to get rough, and these Jakes that are so dependent on the government that they can't even think without the government telling them what to do, they're going to be in a world of trouble. Remember, Elder Pastor brought it out first that the word government means mind control. The word govern means to govern or to lead, and then the word ment, M-E-N-T, means mind. So what? Control of the mind or leading of the mind. Government, the leading of the mind, control of the mind. These devils know exactly what they're doing. Remember, everything that they do is through trial and error. They accomplish a diligent search. And they have all of the pieces in place. They're just waiting to set the trap. And when you run across different information like this, with the George Gordon and other things, you can clearly see how this devil is laying the traps out there, and pushing, the masses to accept this new system as a way of, not mandatory, but as a way of a choice that they have, what's the word I'm looking for? Not mandatory, but if not, pretty much by choice is another word for it, but it doesn't matter right now. So just beware. All right. Stay firm in the knowledge of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. So I just wanted to say a few words on that. And with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say Shalom. Oh, and by the way, we watched that movie Sound of Freedom, and we wanted to do a lesson on it yesterday. We were all ready and set to go, but I was having, certain issues that I was dealing with, which we weren't able to, do the lesson. So, Lord's will, sometime today, we'll get to it, And boy, oh boy, those of you that haven't seen the movie, you should see it. It just shows you the deviousness of these devils. But then, they're trying to blame it on Issachar, and on the so-called Latin tribes. But it goes a whole lot deeper than that. That's just surface. So with that, shalom.